what's so obvious from that interview is how much they need each other to keep this going. That's what was, to coin a phrase stolen by Tim Waltz, a bit weird about it all. You're right, it was a pastiche of some sort of satirical event. But it's just odd. And I've just got this feeling, though, that it all feels like it's just waning away a little bit, that it's all just a bit tired and a bit desperate. And we've got to hope that that proves to be true.
Let's start with Musk and Trump. We might like to poke fun at them. It's easy to do. Doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. But there's little point denying that they are two of the most powerful men on the planet. They got together last night for a 2-hour chat live streamed on Musk's very own social media site X. He chose the assassination attempt, Musk did, to start off Donald Trump in the interview.
Part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the President of the United States for having another term here is that was just incredibly inspiring. But I mean, what was it like for you?
Not pleasant. I have to be honest. I said there was blood. I had more blood. I didn't know I had that much blood. The doctors later told me that the ear is a place that is a very bloody place.
A very bloody place. Other topics discussed included North Korea and the war in Ukraine.
And again, I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do. And he said, no way. And I said, way. And, it's the last time we ever had the conversation. He would never have done. I got along well with him. I hope to get along well with him again.
What was he going to say there? He was going to say he would never have done. Was he going to say that he would never have invaded Ukraine? He was, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was going to.
If I'd been in charge.
Yeah, he's made that claim before. Yeah.
Well,
that does sound like someone doing a pastiche of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And it is exactly just Donald Trump talking.
We don't mean to laugh because this is really serious stuff. But what can you do?
He's possibly the next president. Kezia, what do you make of it? I mean, in some ways, it was as expected. It's kind of two narcissistic figures chatting for 2 hours. Somebody's saying we shouldn't be snooty about it because they are both vastly important men. They are two men who, in some ways, have the opportunity of cradling the world in their hands. Musk runs a social media site and Trump could be the next president.
Well, that's the worry, isn't it? And I think what's so obvious from that interview is how much they need each other to keep this going. That's what was, to coin a phrase stolen by Tim Waltz, a bit weird about it all. You're right, it was a pastiche of some sort of satirical event. But it's just odd. And I've just got this feeling, though, that it all feels like it's just waning away a little bit, that it's all just a bit tired and a bit desperate. And we've got to hope that that proves to be true.
Well, that's an interesting point, that, because Twitter, it seems, is going in a specific direction. Trump appeals to his base as well in the same way that Twitter seems to be sort of reciling back to a certain base. Is there a danger that they both become very good at talking to their own supporters and never expanding beyond that?
And I think that's precisely the problem, is that lots of us, including Kezia and I, listen to it and think, oh, no. But the reality is that if Trump is talking to his supporters, he can become president of the United States again. And under those circumstances, he will be one of the most powerful people in the world. And therefore, we shouldn't turn off from what they're saying because the first week in November, it could matter an enormous amount.
And someone made the point, which I don't buy myself, but in fairness, it has been made, that Trump is talking about there not being a war in Ukraine. Now, that's not the worst thing in the world to consider. We don't want a war in Ukraine. We don't want people killed in Ukraine. And so his idea, I mean, it might not work. It might come from a position of selfishness, but he has a belief, at least, in ending a war.
He has the belief, and lots of other people have a belief in different ways about ending that war. But unfortunately, he is kidding himself if he believes that Putin would not have done that in the first place. And Putin has made absolutely clear that his approach is not to stop at Ukraine. He's made absolutely clear that there are other parts of Moldova and the Baltic states, etc., that he is interested in taking out. Belarusia, effectively, he controls now, although it was an independent state. So under these circumstances, unfortunately, you can't take Trump seriously because Putin will play him in a way that leaves all our lives at risk.
I'm interested in Kezia's thoughts on this, but as a pollster, it strikes me listening to their conversation, it's very male. There's a real bromance thing. They're talking about other big male leaders. Trump has his own other problems with women because of his behaviour in the past and things he's said. How possible is it to be so... Can a macho approach like this get enough people to vote for him because 50% of America's women?
Unfortunately, the answer is yes, because it is not a male-female split. It's a regional split in the United States. Really? And what one's looking at is the opinion. We look very closely at the opinion polls in the swing states. Trump has got stitched up large parts of the United States which will vote Republican. And in those swing states, places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, North Carolina and the like, you may think he's talking to males, but he's actually talking to a broader audience. And you look at the audiences at Trump rallies, they're very mixed and actually, in cases, multiracial as well.
Some people have said, Kezia, on social media, the people you'd expect to say Republicans, well, look, Trump goes to that event for black leaders, performs badly in many people's views, but he's there, he's answering questions, he's saying things. He sits down with Musk. Now, again, Musk is a favourable audience, but he did do it. Kamala doesn't do any of these stuff, is the line, Kezia. Trump is willing to sit down and talk. He's confident. Kamala isn't. Does that work at all as an attack line, do you think?
No, not for me anyway, but I think there are two different strategic approaches being taken here. Trump has always relied on publicity and being outrageous and being as wild as possible as his major currency. So he goes into events like that one you described there with the black female leaders deliberately to outrage, to cause offence, to create dividing lines because he thinks that works for him. And it will to an extent, but the point of his rallies and events like this are about mobilising his base and energising his base. It's not actually about persuading people who are sitting on the fence here. And that's where it comes back to those 6 swing states, which we know are still in play, and the undecided voters in them. And I think that's Trump's real weakness, is he doesn't talk in a language that reassures people who are yet to make up their mind what they're going to do in that first week in November.
Does Twitter matter? X matter, Robert, do you think? Because... it's got a lot of people on it, and Musk is the most influential figure on it. He clearly supports Trump. Paul's just made the point on text saying it would seem Musk is altering the algorithm to support the Trump base. This is newspaper editorializing on crack. He clearly does want to mobilize people for Trump. Will that make a difference?
It matters because a lot of people live, in terms of getting information from X, from social media in one form or another, one cannot disregard those people that you're communicating to who rely on that for information. We've seen it in other aspects of our own society in the last 10 days.
So do you think that some people just think, oh, Trump's spoken to Musk and take it as, on face value, this is just an example of him showing what a strong leader is?
Absolutely. And they want to be convinced, a lot of them, and they will be convinced because that's the message that's out there.